Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you arriving. And as other friends arrive, let's have our usual sitting for 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Let's say the verse of the robe together, please. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. Wearing the universal teaching, I realize the one true nature, thus harmonizing all being. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I think perhaps because we were together last week, I had a very felt sense of you as a community as I prepared to meet you today in maybe a way that's deepening from previous times we've been together. So it's very wonderful to be with you this evening. And I hope, however long your day has been so far, there have been opportunities for some wonder and for seeing into the mystery which we explored last week. This afternoon, I went to feed my son Benedict's cats, and in the kitchen he'd left this note. If you have a moment, Wolfie and Francis do love to play with the rope and boxes in the living room and on the stairs. It helps them to find peace. And he's very funny, and I found that a kind of delightful moment in the day to play with his cats and to feel the resonance of his note. And something that allowed me to open to peace recently was a meeting between Monty Don and Shunmo Masuno. And Monty Don is a renowned broadcaster and gardener in the UK, and Shunmo Masuno is a Japanese monk and a garden designer, and a very well-known and accomplished garden designer. He has been called Japan's leading garden designer. And one of the things I was noted that he said recently is Zen is based on teachings that are fundamentally about how humans can live in this world. So Shunmo Masuno has created a garden with sand and rocks and plants on a station roof in Tokyo. And Monty Don was doing a program about Japanese gardens, and he met Shunmyo Masuno for a brief interview. It maybe was 5 minutes. And I was really delighted and pleased to have seen this interview because it's opened something to me which has stayed with me in the weeks since I heard it, since I witnessed it. So in this garden on the roof of Tokyo Station, you could hear the noise and bustle of the world beneath it and around it. But inside the garden, there was a wonderful feeling of peace. And Monty Don asked Shunmo Masuno why he created it. And he said, well, people live very busy and frantic lives, and we need to create places where they can find tranquility and recreation and restoration. And he said, how do you decide to arrange the stones? And he said, I always communicate with each stone. The stone said to me, it's okay, this angle, this position. And the next question, which you could almost miss if you didn't really attend to it, Pontidon said, and what about the vending machine in the corner? And in the corner of this beautiful garden was a modern vending machine. And Shunmyo Masuno said, I accept, with almost a small bow. And I was really struck by what it is to accept this life, moment to moment, um, the small things which may feel are not our preference, a vending machine in a beautiful garden, something that as we move through this life, we find difficult sometimes, the very small things. And then, of course, the really, really big things that we explored last week. What is it to accept my past and the present and my future? And we explored how last week, sometimes we look back and it's very easy to attribute failures as failures rather than openings into the mystery or to understanding or to relationship. And I've been using this practice to bow to things that happen to me each day, which I may not be my preference. And it's really interesting what happens when I say, I accept. And I then move towards whatever it is I'm accepting, whether it's something I have to do or something I see or something that worries me. The whole range of things that each day we have thoughts and views about. The simplicity of saying, I accept. And part of my inquiry today is what is it to say to our lives, I accept. I accept that happened. I accept this. I accept this thing I've agreed to do. It's a kind of embodiment in some ways of the practice we do in the Zendo. Take it out into the world and see what happens as an experiment. This experience of seeing this film also impressed me that how much I'm drawn to presences. I'm very drawn to Shunmu Masuno's presence. So there was something about that 5-minute interview with him on the roof of a building where I would love to go and just be there and practice with this person. There's a drawing towards of some kind of energy that is being so beautifully embodied. And it reminded me about something that Suzuki Roshi said in Zen and Excitement. He said, if possible, try to always be calm and joyful and keep yourself from excitement. If your mind is calm and constant, you can keep yourself away from the noisy world, even though you are in the midst of it. In the midst of noise and change, your mind will be quiet and stable. So there's a number of aspects to that statement which really interests me. And one of them is, what is excitement? Is he saying you should always keep yourself away from excitement and whatever that is? And in what ways is it possible to be always calm and joyful and keep yourself from excitement? So I've been carrying this statement around today. And I think it's really tempting to kind of grasp things when we see this and we go, oh right, okay, this I should be this. I should be calm and joyful and keep myself from excitement. When I have a mind which is often not calm and joyful and can get quite excited. But he goes on to say, if you become too busy and too excited, your mind becomes rough and ragged. So I did a little inquiry today with something I love watching, which is tennis. And I like watching really good matches. And so as I was writing this, I went and looked at the highlights of the Wimbledon final this year between Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic, where there are the most amazing shots. And I find that exciting and enlivening and joyful. And I love watching skill. So I was kind of thinking, okay, is this the kind of excitement that I shouldn't be feeling? And I thought, no, this is there is a life in this. There is enjoyment and fullness in this experience. Um, so that was my first inquiry. The things that excite me, in what way are they really helpful, and in what way are they um, not helpful? When I thought about this statement, and quite a lot of the teachings, is they need breathing space around them, to give them some space, and to allow them to be met rather than kind of grasping them. And I thought, well, I'll take these teachings for a walk today. So I took the statement about being calm and joyful and not kind of allowing yourself to be overexcited into the town where I live. And I went into a cafe and I noticed how it was going and I noticed how people were. And I went into a very busy supermarket. It's half term here, and there were some very stressed looking parents and some quite agitated looking children in queues. And I watched for a while, saying these words through me and just noticing what opens up when I take a teaching for a walk. I was struck that Suzuki Roshi also says, building character is like making bread. Moderate temperature is needed. You know exactly what you need, but if you get too excited, you will forget how much temperature is good for you, and you will lose your own way. So there's something about what he's saying is we all know what we need. We think we know what we need, and moderate temperature is needed. And if I think about our experience in the Zendo, there's a kind of moderate temperature in that we have a certain flow, a certain rituals. We know exactly what we need, but if we get too excited, we will forget how much temperature is good for us, and we will lose our own way. Another thing that's really interests me is Suzuki Roshi talks about the noisy world, and of course there are many places in our world that are noisy, which are full of bustle. But I was very curious about the British philosopher Alain de Botton, who went to um, Barbados on a holiday, and he was full of difficult thoughts. He was in paradise. He was in a not so noisy world. And yet he was really curious that he and his wife had seen the brochures. They'd envisioned how the holiday was going to go. And actually, it really wasn't as he'd hoped. So he was curious about what draws us to travel. And he wrote a book called The Art of Travel, where he explored all of the many people who have written about travel and the motivations for travel, to explore the kind of yearning for paradise that isn't paradise. And so it impressed upon me that when I go into town with these words, I don't necessarily take myself, I take my mind. I take my mind for a walk into town to notice what happens in different situations and to try to sense what Suzuki Roshi is pointing at. He's leaving us clues, and the rest is kind of up to us to explore and to inquire into. He leaves an inquiry each time he offers a teaching. There's a poem I saw many years ago, and as I was walking home from this experiment in town, I remembered it. It's called I Took My Mind a Walk. It's by a Scottish poet called Norman MacCaig. He said, I took my mind a walk, or my mind took me a walk, whichever was the truth of it. The light glittered on the water, or the water glittered in the light. And then the poem is quite long, but the end is, how extraordinarily ordinary things are, like the nature of the mind and the process of observing. How extraordinarily ordinary things are, like the nature of the mind and the process of observing. And I'm also really curious what I do with a Dharma talk when I'm listening to one, when I'm reading one, and what you do. What do you do? How is your mind observing what happens, and in what way is there a process that you go through when you think of, for example, the words of Suzuki Roshi? So I'm really fascinated by, actually, do we actually turn towards what we're doing when we see a talk or read a talk? What do you do? I'm really curious. So if any of these themes around what is excitement, what is it to be calm and joyful, what is it to open to wonder, what is it to be in this noisy and busy world, and actually to find a place of peace, as my son Ben said with regard to the cats. And how do you relate to teachings? What do you do? What do you take home from it? So thank you very much. And if you're curious to explore this with me, I would love that. Thank you. Hi, Nelda.
Hello, Josh. So thank you for this talk. It has all elements of me moving, things moving in my body and in my mind and in my emotions. I'm definitely going to get that book about travel because I love to travel. I'll be gone from Austin 5 months this year traveling, and it's out of curiosity. I am just so excited to see what I find when I get there. No expectation. I know Antarctica will be cold, but other than that, I don't know. Um, so I'll start by saying that I understand that words are slippery. And so we use certain words and we get images of what they mean. And when you were talking about an excited mind, what that took me to was, well, doesn't awe create excitement? And is that a bad thing? Because there's so many places I go here in Austin, some mundane, some not so much, and I feel such a sense of awe, and um, I delight in the awe. And as you, when you asked yourself, is this a bad thing? I don't think that awe is. I think there are certain things um, that can be pitfalls. Like sometimes we get into industriousness without really being in the moment of the activity. But I don't see that great energetic activity is the same as industriousness. So I'm trying to sort through what is most slippery, which is words.
Yeah, that's really resonates with me, and I I kind of know what Suzuki Roshi is getting at, I think, but I can't really put it into words. And as somebody who does get excited about things, and has that kind of energy sometimes and I think of his energy. His energy was playful. Um, so he comes from a place of joy and playfulness and many other things. But it's a really interesting statement, isn't it, to kind of explore. The other day we were setting up a Sangha day here, and we started to get a little bit maybe too excited about moving the chairs. We were pushing them across the floor and kind of excited about the event to come, and it was kind of unproductive and not respectful to the chairs. So there was something about maybe we were a little bit ragged or something in our anticipation. So it's a great question. Let's keep exploring it.
Thank you for the beginning of another exploration. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilda. Hello, Rosemary.
Okay. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. So, an interesting related thing happened while you were talking. I got a call from the doorman, and I thought, well, but I had a package that was being picked up, and it's kind of important. It's a package of all my psychology books that I'm giving away based
Wow.
on my retirement, and so that was important. And the UPS man was there, and they couldn't find the box.
Ah.
And I got excited in a
Mm.
not like watching the wonderful tennis matches. And I came back, and we agreed that the UPS guy has to go, and maybe box was down there yesterday. Maybe the yesterday doorman gave it to them yesterday. But I came back to the talk, and it took a while for me to let go.
Yeah.
And I'm here listening because another thing that I had was canceled. So I was so happy to be here listening. And so there was the interruption, but this was my choice. And I could have left for longer and gone downstairs and looked, but my choice was to come back and try to find a non-energized place, an even place. And I think I got here. So it was my vending machine in the beautiful garden.
Yeah.
And I was finding it hard to accept.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming back, because I think, it's quite hard once you've got on a trail of, where's the box, and is it worth coming back now because I'm in this frame of mind, and that takes a lot of presence to do it. It takes a lot of presence to sit sometimes, when we think, well, it's I'm not in a space to do that, but to come back, I really appreciate that, and what you're offering the group by coming back and appearing. How's it feeling now?
Much better,
Yeah.
especially sharing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not because the main thing was what I wanted was not happening. What I envisioned, my requirement for getting this box together, getting the label on there, organizing the pickup was not happening as far as I knew, and releasing myself from that.
Mm.
There's always an option, and
Mm.
being here today versus listening to the recording later is
Mm.
special and was my choice.
I think, I don't know what you feel. I think sometimes to share something, it's like I'm feeling like this. This is where I've been. And sometimes just something happens by telling another person. Breathing
Absolutely.
changes, heart changes. I mean, I kind of feel a kind of settling from what you're saying, actually. It's kind of, it, it's nice to hear that and to know, that to be inspired by that practice to come back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Josh.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, Josh. Good evening. I guess I was going to say good morning, but not how the globe works. Good, thank you. Thank you so much for a very wonderful Dharma talk here. And as these things always seem to work out, very timely, very cogent. And there were so many different things that you said, like taking something for a walk. How do you respond to something? How do you hold something? That frame of mind that you can take for a walk. What do you do with it? Being the way that I am, I make so many notes with things.
Yeah.
I've got tons of paper all over it. I always have a journal with me.
Great.
Because even sometimes when you get that frame of mind or that frame of reference and you take that with you, something else pops up in connection with it as you sit with it or let it sit inside of you. And you go from step 1 to step 2 to step 5, and it's always interesting to see how that process evolves.
Yeah.
And the excitement piece, I'm working on something right now where there's so many flavors of excitement, if you will. Um, there is that chaotic excitement, which is not really good for the brain cells. But there is that excitement sometimes just by coming to know something or to get a closer look at it. And one of the things the past couple of nights that I've been dealing with is the excitement of calmness that you get from not knowing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, I've been looking at stars, and just the physics with light, the fact that a sun or a star emits light, and light travels at something like 300 million meters per second in a vacuum. And the light that I'm seeing now was something that was generated literally eons ago. And the strangeness of that it's really hard to comprehend with my small mind, or even with science in my back pocket, to see that you're looking at something which is but isn't what it was. And that not knowing, that challenge of comprehending, gives a sense of calm
Yeah.
that's really quite surprising and quite magnificent. And it leaves you standing in the dark smiling, probably like an idiot, but I'm smiling anyway and happy.
I
So
love how, I love how you're juxtaposing excitement with calmness, because sometimes they seem like kind of opposites, but um, they're kind of really related to in the way you're describing them.
yeah, one of the ironies and fun things about duality sometimes. Um, but yeah, it's amazing how not knowing still can create an excitement and a calmness.
Yeah. I mean, I'm feeling the wonder coming across the sea from from Hawaii, because what you're describing is wonderful. Um,
Yes.
it's really beautiful, and it kind of you know enhances my sense of what excitement is, what aliveness is.
Oh, there you go. There's a word. It's aliveness.
Yes, yes, yeah,
And,
yeah.
yeah, and it's imbued with energy, which has a particular nature of excitement about it.
Mm. Well, for years I've kind of worked with in activity there should be calmness, and in calmness there should be activity, which is one of Suzuki Roshi's teachings. And what is that? What is that calmness in activity? And what is the activity in calmness? And um,
And that's part of what makes the practice rich.
yeah, yeah, and a constant inquiry. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. It's constant. So again, just thank you. Really, really enjoy this as always.
great to see you again. Thank you. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Josh.
Hey,
Nice to meet you.
you too.
Um, I loved this conversation, the conversation that just happened, this conversation in general. I think it really highlights this feeling of curiosity being alive, and you were, I think, speaking in your the tennis portion of your talk, um, about that turn and how that's important. And I think as you were speaking, I was thinking about my son, who is a year and a half old
Mm.
and is very excited about many, 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 many things. And sometimes, it is my job to help him to find the calm.
Mm.
And sometimes it's my job to calm myself
Yeah,
and just be with him. So the two sort of examples from my time with him yesterday that came up for me were he really likes food and he really wants it when he wants it, and he will literally scream. And I find myself over and over and over sort of just speaking to him about,
mm.
what can you do? You can take a deep breath, because I have experience of meals being a calm and enjoyable time, but he does not. He isn't able to put together the steps of the food needs to cook in order to enjoy it, and he doesn't have that kind of forethought. And so that's part of my job, to teach him about that process, right? And then I feel the almost the opposite circumstance of and in those scenarios, I should say, I'm trying to keep myself from getting excited, right? To like involve letting myself be pulled into his manner of excitement, and instead pull him into the calm, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I really get
mhm.
what you're saying. It's the mystery, isn't it, of parenthood? What you're kind of describing, I think, and relational parenthood.
Yes. But then he teaches me, then there's those instances, and I oftentimes, after I've completed my work day, I'll take him outside, and he loves just playing with water and pouring one bucket of water into another bucket of water. And that's such a beautiful time with him. And sometimes I find myself getting excited when he's not excited. He's not bothered that he's going to spill the cold water all over him, and it's a cold day, and it's you know he wants to do what he's doing, and I have to calm myself down, and allow his calm to sort of enter into my space, and just let go. It's okay if he spills, it's okay if he spills cold water all over himself and gets muddy, and whatever else happens in that moment.
I mean,
That's okay. So
yeah.
mhm.
So I you know, I've been a parent. Well, I am a parent, but I'm a grandparent, and I have twin grandsons and a great grandson of all three. And I kind of, you know, I kind of meeting all of what you're saying again, you know, through how to kind of manage myself, how to manage relationships in a way that is joyful. But it seems that there's a constant flow and readjustment required from me to meet it. I mean, I love the energy that you're describing it with. Um, it's very beautiful. It's a practice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the essence, that there's no, that I have to remember that there's no right answer in there, that it's just a flow and a constant sort of process in that moment. And I think sometimes I have the illusion that there is an answer, um, or some sort of checklist that I could go down to know when he's supposed to be teaching me and when I'm supposed to be teaching him, and that is an illusion, and I think that expands toward the rest of my relationships, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe, you know, for me, it's just something around kindness to myself. I do my best, and sometimes it doesn't feel good enough. You know, it's something about just making our best effort in as beautiful way as possible, and riding the mystery.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you. Hi Ben.
Hi, Josh.
Hi Ben. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for that. I guess what it brought up for me is that so often I feel like I'm at the other end of the continuum of awe and excitement. And a lot of the time feel underwhelmed
Okay.
by things. Case in point today. So I had an appointment, the physio appointment down on the south coast, which is about an hour and 45-minute train ride. I get to Waterloo. Trains are mayhem. There's been an incident, but I still managed to catch my train 7 minutes late, which was amazing. I get to Havant, which is one stop from where I'm headed. I'm heading to Emsworth. So I change at Havant. I speak to the station guard and I say to him, is there a train to Havant, or shall I get a taxi? He says, yeah, there's a train in 3 minutes. Brilliant. Where's the stop? First stop. The train pulls in. I get on. The guy does a lot of waffling over the tannoy, and it turns out that I'm on a train direct back to where I've just come from. Non-stop because of all the disruptions. So there's no, all the stops have been cancelled until it gets to London Waterloo.
Oh.
So I missed my appointment. I've gone back to square one, and that feels like indicative of me always fucking up and feeling like I'm underwhelmed as opposed to in awe and excited about all the stuff that's kind of I think I'm supposed to be, or would like to be, inspired by and in awe of.
Okay.
I don't know if there's a question in there somewhere, but I would like your guidance or your thoughts on my experience.
Well, I'm just tracking what I'm feeling, and I'm feeling um, a lot of care and kind of kindness towards that place that you feel you're in. There's a kind of um, sense that maybe you feel you ought to feel awe and wonder. Is that something that you're feeling?
Yes, I think I would like to feel more of that rather than being always drawn down into mind and into my preferences and into the self-centered dream of, well, this is not how I want my life to be.
Yeah.
I want to be at my appointment. I deserve to be at my appointment. I left half an hour before, I did all these things because I know what I'm like. I miss trains and planes, and that's just my thing. So I made a conscious effort to do that, and just feel very, very underwhelmed by things, and so therefore feel like I'm not noticing, not being present about what's going on around me, as a more opposed to being stuck in my own mind.
Okay. So I guess anybody who'd had that experience today, because it's a long way from Havant to Waterloo, to go all the way back is not going to be easy to the most awe-inspired person in the world. It's it's really hard. It's a day, of your life.
Yeah. I think one thing that did resonate, though, in a positive way with what you said earlier was with the Japanese gardener, and how you felt drawn to his energy. And for the first time, I've heard so much about Suzuki Roshi in these inquiries, and the book, Zen Mind Beginner's Mind. And it's the first time Flint sent a video round of Suzuki Roshi being videoed. It's only a 3-minute clip, but it's extraordinary. His energy is absolutely extraordinary. There is something that draws you in, which is very, very powerful. So that bit really resonates with me.
So as you say that, I can feel some
Yeah,
alignment.
yeah. I sensed that coming as I was saying it. I was like, oh, that's awe.
Yeah, that's all, and maybe it's through who you're drawn to and what you're drawn to. Maybe the opening way, rather than
Yeah,
ideas about Zen or what you should be
yeah,
thinking. Maybe it's
yeah,
maybe for you it might be people, because that seems to be, if you're drawn to Suzuki
yeah,
Roshi, there's something happening there. There's some energy.
yeah, yeah. You see that playfulness in him. You see that wry smile that's behind every
Yes.
statement and comment that he makes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
So there's something there that I'm seeing in that. What did you do when you were on the train on the way back? What did you do with your mind?
I focused it on my accounts that I'm trying to get completed over the next few weeks. So I spoke to the guard on the train. He said, that's this is how it is. We're sorry, but that's the nature of the beast. So yeah, I just focused on trying to get some work done for that hour and 45 minutes.
Mm. Oh, okay. Okay. So you did a
Yeah.
task. Yeah, 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 yeah. So maybe, maybe there's something around that relationship thing that that it's like, oh, I'm drawn to this person. I'm drawn. So it becomes more embodied than ideas about Zen.
Yes.
Hmm.
Sorry, just could you explain that a bit more? So you mean to watch more videos? No, not to watch more videos.
No, whatever. Well, it's like you could be curious about what it is about Suzuki Roshi that's
Yes.
drawn.
Okay, I see.
So it's like
Yeah.
maybe there's a, what is there? Is there a question there about, okay, why
Yeah.
was that? What? Because where's follow the aliveness.
Yeah, and take that for a walk. I see. I see what you're saying.
Maybe a question could be, where's the aliveness? But not as a,
Mm,
I'm doing it or I'm not, or I'm failing or I'm succeeding, but maybe
mm,
where's the aliveness in right now?
mm.
I mean, I can feel the aliveness in and the
Yeah. Well,
you
thank
know,
you. I think I am just about just about ticking over.
yeah.
But yeah. Thank you, Josh. I miss you.
And
Thanks.
this, thank you.
We have Joel.
Hi, Joel.
Hi, Josh. Well, thank you for this extraordinary teaching. I've never heard of Norman MacCaig before today, and I love that. I looked up the poem while you were speaking of him, and it's a wonderful poem, but I want to really learn more. I love the example that you gave of being respectful of the chairs and getting set up for a sitting. And I've heard Suzuki Roshi talk about that as well, and the kind of ways in which forms offer ways to moderate excitement, and and yet, as you and Ben were just pointing out, there's a lot of excitement and share in playfulness in the way he offers his teachings and so on. So the way he balances that, and um, I'm just what Nelda said, what Rosemary said, what Ed said about cosmic awe, and Shannon about these incredibly powerful moments of being with a young child. And Ben, I really, I've experienced recently missed connections where I thought I was going to be connecting with a group of people, and it didn't work out. So I really am resonating with Ben. Had to say, Ben, I hope that you and I can somehow connect. Good, you just put
Yeah,
your
there's
email in
connection
chat.
happening.
Great.
Connection happening already. Yeah, yeah.
But I wanna ask you about the chairs.
Hmm.
Just what was it that made you think that there was disrespect to the chairs in the way that they were being moved around?
There's a chapter in Not Always So where Suzuki Roshi talks about a group in the room above scraping the chairs across the ceiling, the floor. And he says this is no way to treat things. And he goes on to say this is a kind of deep practice of respect for things in all their function and beauty. And
Mm-hmm.
so I remembered it just as we were getting excited about putting the chairs out. And I
Ah,
think Shirley, who's here this evening, and I lifted all the chairs into place. And it was really lovely, actually. It was quiet. It was fun. There was some joy in it because we were taking care of the chairs and we were getting it done. We were
mm-hmm,
getting.
mm-hmm,
So there was a kind of I wanted to kind of respect and remember that teaching And it was you know, sometimes we think the practice begins when the bell goes, but it actually begins when you're setting up, doesn't it? As you know. So that was the context for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
wonderful teaching.
Thank you.
And to all who shared for wonderful teaching.
Thank you so much. So we'll now have the final chant today, the 4 practice principles. If you would join me in that, please. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight and supporting this this community. And thank you to Maria for holding the space. And I will now hand over to her. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh, for 2 weeks in a row. What a wonderful pleasure for us all and delight for us all to have you. And maybe a bit calmer this week for you, maybe, than last week. Well, yeah, thank you all so much for being here. And if you'd like to offer dana to Josh, I'll put the link in the chat. And also, if you'd like to offer dana to appamada.org, you can also find a place there. But thank you all so much for being here. And if you'd like to continue for a further 30 minutes to carry on this conversation that Josh has begun, please do join me for a further 30 minutes. And yeah, I'll be there in just pop yourself into gallery view and I'll be there in just a moment. Thank you all so much again for being here. Thank you.